Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Dynasty from the Mountaintops. This is going to be a shorter show this week as life takes over. So I'm Mickey. We have Jimmy here, and Jeremy came back. We're shocked, but he came back. So how you guys doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. Yeah, no kids. So nice little plan day. So got a little easy day on the schedule.
Nice. So let's jump right into it because we have, like I said, 15, 20 minutes here. We're really going to talk about two things put together, kind of like how you trade, things like that, some trading tips, and also weave in some trade talk that we had going on this past week, some trades that went through, didn't go through, things like that. So all about trades again this week. First off, Jim, I know you had a trade that didn't go through you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah. So I put Amon St. Brown on the block after I acquired him a few weeks ago, and I got an offer for Travis Kelce and a first for Amon St. Brown, and that just kind of like blew my mind for a couple reasons. A, I just paid 2 firsts and a second for him, which I actually think I got a discount for. And he didn't lose value in my mind. If anything, he grew in value just a little bit because he's had really good weeks. And on top of that, it's like, do you even know who you're trading with? Like, have you looked at my team? Have you, decided where I'm at? Because to get a 35, 36-year-old tight end, that's included with a team that has, 412 backup quarterbacks, and Amon and Puka with Mahomes, it's like, that doesn't fit my window at all. I don't know when I'm going to be good. So why would I take on a 35-year-old tight end that I could probably not flip? So it's like, they took me out to dinner and they didn't even look at my profile when they were swiping right on Tinder. They just like, hey, he looks cute, let's take him out. But I feel like you have to do research.
Yeah, they took you to a beautiful Italian dinner when you want burger and a shake.
They don't know, like, that's where, like, I get a lot of trades done. Like, I'm kind of a trade slut because but I do my research. I know what each team's looking for. I ask questions. I'm a really good date partner. And I feel like, this was not a good date for me. I would not take this person out on another date.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk to this person, and I wasn't even involved because just do a little bit of research, okay? Like you said, you are tanking. You are trying to be the worst in the league, and you're doing a great job of it.
Thank you.
So great job on that. Yeah, great job on sucking. And why would you take a person who's been saying he wants to retire soon to do something else with his career?
He did sign an extension, which is fine, but it's also like, 35-year-old, like, it just doesn't, but honestly, he's on the downside of his career. Like, this was 5 years ago, okay, we can have a conversation. Like, his best years behind him, like, he doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, I need a tight end, so that was at least promising, but at the same time, it's like, that's not what I'm trying to do right now.
Right. Now, if this was like Kincaid or Bowers or like Tucker Kraft for that matter, obviously you need to be a little bit more than Kraft at that point, but someone young, this is a completely different conversation. But
yeah,
it sounds like he wanted to offload Travis Kelce and get something for it.
Yeah, he was having a garage sale and he was trying to get me to buy the cheapest item at the garage sale.
Yeah, and he was looking and the oldest.
Yeah.
And he wasn't looking at what you needed. He was only worried about what he wants. And this is a huge thing we talked about before, where the biggest advice I give people, especially in new dynasty, is don't necessarily always worry about winning the trade. More along the lines of, does it fit for both sides? And if you both think, you said this in the past, Jim, if you both think you're winning, it's probably a good trade. If you both think you're losing, it's probably a good trade.
Yeah, if you have that nervous energy in the pit of your stomach, like, what did I just do? It's probably a good trade.
Yeah. Which you had last week with the Jalen Hurts. So you were like, okay, better.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Jeremy, how do you've been kind of a trade slut as well with me. So how do you get trades done? Like, I'd be really curious to hear your perspective.
Well, I don't want to get on the soapbox right now, but let's just say per KTC standards as of this morning, that is a fair trade. Travis Kelce and a first for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And now hold on. That's KTC standards. Now, the people on this podcast, the listeners, are going to find out very soon how against calculators and such I am toward this. For reasons of that is why I would support turning down this deal. Like, the trade calculator is saying it's an even deal, but for the point of what you're saying, it bases it off of each individual league and team. The individual research needs to go on for this. So Travis Kelce, per your standards, like you said, would not be impactful for a rebuilder. So I do support the logistics behind doing the homework. I personally am a little tight on the OCD, where I tend to have my plan in place for the team and kind of roll with it. I have 4 leagues, 2 of them I'm contending, 2 of them I'm rebuilding. So I focus on that particular league, and I don't worry about the calculators. Kind of just focus particularly on what I like. I'm a player focuser. I like Tracy. I'm liking Tracy a lot this year. I like them at camp, and I'm going to like them next year. So I'm trying to grab as many Tracy stocks as I can for those.
Nice. So, Mickey, what about you? You also get a lot of trades done. So how do you up your other people in the league?
So for me, when it's someone that I want or something that I need to have happen to make my team better, I'm okay giving a little bit more than what I should, because I'm more worried about winning now than I am about 2-3 years down the road when these future players, I don't know if they're going to hit them. So I'm willing to give a little extra to somebody, and you've seen this, Jim, multiple times. If someone's like, well, give me a second and the deal's good. Sure, done. Like, no problem. Because that second could turn out to be somebody, but 8 times out of 10, it probably won't. And the way my track record is on drafting, I've got 1 right so far, I think, in 3 years. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm very easy to deal with because I don't mind taking gambles. Like, and I think Jeremy said this in the past. It's fake football. Have fun. And I think that's where you and I kind of get along. Is I think it's easier for us to negotiate types of trades when we're dealing with players, because you and I tend to have player focuses more on pick focus. So you tend to have these interests in these players, and you tend to have their background information and everything in between. So it does tend to let you be a little bit more, I don't want to say frugal, but a little bit more aggressive in the trades, because you know what you're getting with the player. With the picks, like you said, the values never changes. To Jim's point, I don't want to negate that. But to the same point, you know what you're getting with these players presently and or how you feel with them in the future. So you tend to do a little bit of more reckless trading. So I fully support that logic. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do take picks to, like, if I think I'm the short end of the stick and this person wants the guy, I'll take picks too.
100%.
Picks are just like a cherry on top, in my opinion.
Yes.
Except first are kind of important. But I'm pulling up the next trade I want to talk about, which kind of goes into this because me and you traded, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Pickens and Pacheco. There was more to it, obviously. You talked about getting Tyrone Tracy. I was very sad to lose him. However, when you're trying to get a trade done and you have the guys on your taxi squad because he's never going to start on the team, it made it a little bit easier to get rid of him this year because, like I said, I'm going for the championship and needed to get an extra wide receiver.
No, I support. I was okay with this from what you were saying. Immediately, for the league that we're in, I've already determined myself to be a contender. I don't see myself as a rebuild blow up, but I do see myself a few pieces short of actually contending. So I'm at the point now where, to bring up the previous points, if I am in a contending spot and a situation arises just like it did between you and I, first place I look for is the taxi. Because if I'm in a contending spot, I'm going to want youth and potential players, and I know individuals such as yourself who are looking for now pieces are going to move taxis. So when I saw Tracy on taxi, it was a no-brainer. But yeah, to that point, I was happy with the deal. You were able to get Pickens. I know as a Steeler fan, that's a little bit of a feather in your cap as well. And I was able to acquire Tracy and get some much-needed youth in the right lineup.
Yeah, so the Pickens, I am a Steeler fan, but I saw the writing on the wall. I saw what he was doing when he wasn't catching the ball. He was making huge moves. He was getting offensive pass interference or defensive pass interferences all the time. It was a matter of time. And then when they switched from Fields to Russell Wilson, that was the game changer. And I was like, got to get him before anyone else does.
Well, and sometimes best move is no moves. And I actually got an offer for Pickens for a first about a week ago, and I'm like, no, I think he's just about ready to blow up. And I'm like, I'm really glad I held on.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and you were on the same page. I think with Russell Wilson, it kind of opens him up a little bit. I don't know how long.
More consistent. It's just more consistent. Like he'll probably start running more routes that will just attract more fantasy points, as you're kind of already seeing.
And then, Jeremy, you were talking about last week. You were talking about player crushes And I don't necessarily have a player crush on Jameson Williams, but I have so much faith in the player that I was so happy that that was the second piece I could get from this trade. And getting Riddick Pacheco, who is a player crush of mine. One of my favorite running styles is just bowl people over and deal with it later. It is my favorite running style. Beast mode's been my favorite running back of all time. So
yeah, I'm a huge fan of Montgomery right now for that reason. So
yeah, same thing, right? Absolutely. So losing Pacheco kind of hurt, but I knew we don't know what's going to happen with him. I haven't heard anything in his 21-day window's open. So if he doesn't show up soon, he's out for the year, which is perfect for your team, but it doesn't work for what I'm trying to do. So I knew I had to offload him, talk to Jimmy as well about that too. And if Tracy's going to be that little extra on top, sure, why not? Get the deal done is how I look at it.
Yeah, I was going with a little bit of uncertainty on this one. With the Jameson issues this year and last, and then Pickens' attitude beginning of the year, to me, those are not elite players. But to me, this year, it was a little bit of a burden for me to hold on to them, not knowing what was going on. If this is the gamble, for lack of words, that you said, Mick, if this is the gamble that you want to take, then hell yeah, more power to you, and I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and then that Pickens move kind of led me into the second player that I grabbed in the golf league, which was Justin Fields, because I don't believe we're going to keep Russell Wilson, but I think but Fields is going to learn a lot from Russell sitting on the bench, watching a professional.
I could see this going on another year. I could see this duo going another year for sure.
They
got them both cheap. Russell was dirt cheap because he was paid by the Broncos handsomely. So I can see them carrying on this longer, especially the way they're playing. They're not going to get a decent draft pick. So, pack it up and wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too, that Russell might be able to stay. I don't know what his contract looks like. I didn't look at it.
They're both
yeah. I think they're both like dirt cheap 1-year deals.
Well, Denver Broncos are paying the entire Russell salary.
Yes.
This year only, though, right?
Yeah. He's they kind of the dead money.
That's why I grabbed Fields, because I feel like next year, whether he's with the Steelers or with somebody else, he's going to get a chance. He's done good enough to get a second shot. And Fields is one of those cheat codes when it comes to fantasy, if he's the starter.
All right. Well, I have one more trade I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
So in our DVP league, where there's about 5 competing teams where, like, I feel like I'm at the top, not ranked roster-wise, not standings-wise.
We'll see.
I know Mickey will beg to differ there, but I had a guy reach out to who's one of the top 5 teams. Who's like, I need a starter. Are you interested in selling Ridley? I was like, I didn't really think about it. And he goes, based off KTC, he said he's worth about a late second. So would you do a late second? And I'm like, I thought about it. And I accepted it, but I felt dirty afterwards, because I was like, well, yes, it was nice to get that piece off my roster, to have more flexibility. I could probably do something more with that second later on in the year if I need to. And it opens up a roster spot where I could add another piece. But it's also like he's one of my competitors. So, like, I was curious, like, how you guys trade with your competitors, because my dynasty landscape, I've been so bad for the last 2 years. I don't know what it feels like to win or have competitors. So, like, how do you guys trade with people who are your rivals?
So I've actually traded with Kong this year, and looking at rosters to start the year, me and him looked like we were the two best, right? Just roster style, wise. We were set. We were deep, pretty much set for the championship game. But and I can't remember who I got for it, to be 100% honest, but I had Chase Brown sitting on the bench just waiting. And he overvalued Chase Brown, which now looks like a good move because he is the starter. But I believe I'll have to look into it a little bit. Basically what I was getting at was, I don't really care who is the trade partner is. If it makes sense for my team, I'm not worried about making another team better. Because if it's making sense for my team's getting better.
Yeah, I am worried about making another team better. Like, either I'm going to charge them more, or I'm not going to trade with them.
Yeah, I'm kind of a hybrid between the two of you. I would probably, if I'm doing deals with a rival, I'm going to charge them a tad bit extra just because I can. Kind of like a championship tax.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I want, I ain't going to play with it. Like, if someone's offering me player A and I want player A, I ain't going to push those buttons and try to do it. I'm going to get player A. But if I know rival team B wants somebody on my team and I'm indifferent, for example, say the deal that maybe you and Mickey Mickey and I did, I would obviously charge Mickey a little bit more. Other than that, I just join my rivals podcast and listen to all their secrets and then use it against them. So,
that's fair. Yeah, you and I haven't traded in a while. I mean, I guess,
come on.
I'm not talking about you, Nick. I'm talking about you.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Jeremy needs a backup quarterback right now.
So I got the trade here. It was straight up Chase Brown for Matt Stafford. It was the week where both of my quarterbacks were on bye. I needed somebody to fill the quarterback spot, and Chase Brown was going to be sitting on my bench the entire year with who I have.
I believe you just said a player crush of mine, Matthew Stafford, player crush, established 2016 player crush.
Did he do well? No, but I needed a player to fill the quarterback spot that week, so
He'll be fine.
that's who he wanted.
He got Puka and Cooper.
No, I get that. I have Hurts and Herbert, who I thought were going to be incredible, but then Harbaugh got hired. So Stafford's actually starting on my team, so it ends up working out for me as well. But I was in a tight spot. I was playing Craig, who is my rival, in my opinion.
Well, that's why Craig made the trade with me, because he needed a player to beat you this week. And I'm like,
yeah, we're playing again this week, right?
Yeah, and I was like, I'll help him out.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, you got it.
But then I texted him separately, and I was like, I thought you wanted a good receiver. Because Ridley hasn't been anything this year.
Well, he had really good last week, and then that's
last week. It was a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but 1 week does not a player make.
I guess we'll see what the downhill effects of no D-Hop is. I mean, 1 week of no D-Hop, it worked. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but D-Hop wasn't really killing it either on this team.
No, but I'm just saying it could be coincidental that D-Hop leaves and Calvin Ridley has the best game in 2 years. I'm just saying, let's give it some time. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was coincidence more than normal. Because the quarterbacks that are in Tennessee are not good at all. All right, so Jimmy had to step out. There were a couple of extra trades that you made, if you want to talk about a couple of those.
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned the Pacheco, because
yeah, you made another deal with Pacheco, so he's not even.
Pacheco got moved back. So I like the Pacheco in our deal. I'm a fan of Pacheco, like you said. I was a fan last year. He helped me win my title last year, my 1 week. But man, not only has the running back committee situation really spread along the league, him coming in with the injury that he had, it wasn't no high ankle sprain. They broke his fibula. Like, I'm concerned of what kind of health he's going to be in. I'm not saying he's done. I'm not saying he's retired or he's shot. I'm just saying I don't know if we're going to get the same Pacheco as we had last year or the year before. And now with Kareem Hunt back, everyone seems to be okay with him, and he's doing well. I'm a little concerned of that committee in the backfield. So Pacheco, I've moved him in the 1 league that I had him, and so I felt good getting the stock at him now. I was approached to grab him again in the similar situation that you and I. Pacheco isn't going to do me much at all this year, and if somebody thinks that he can, who's competing, so be it. So Pacheco was moved for a 2025 second from Kendre Miller from the Saints. I know he's been in and out of favor of Dennis Allen, but I like the youth. I like the availability. And if he's not in favor of the coach, maybe there's a chance he gets moved. Kamara's not getting any younger, so it was worth a stash to see exactly how he does. So to me, flipping my insecurities of Pacheco to flip that for a second at minimum, and then plus DeAndre Miller, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I was pretty surprised when I first saw this because I was like, wait, I just gave him this guy. But you said Dennis Allen doesn't like him. Doesn't mean that the next coach isn't going to like him, because there's no way Dennis Allen makes it out of this year.
Right.
And if he makes it out of this year, he's gone over in the offseason. Like,
exactly.
I don't see him staying as the coach for next year. So Kendre Miller may have a clear path with Kamara getting older. He's been good this year, but you can see him kind of whittling away a little bit as it goes on the year too. And then adding a mid-second, not bad.
Yeah, I'll take it. Like, considering where I'm at now, and at the beginning of the year, I moved some of my picks thinking I was going to be a little bit more competitive, and I'm not. So a little bit of recoup doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just the Miller option. Miller has more options. Pacheco's either going to come back and be great, or he's going to come back and share a committee, or he's going to come back and he's not going to be the same. Kendre Miller has a chance of sharing with Kamara. He has a chance of taking over if Kamara gets hurt. He has a chance of being moved. So, like, I felt that there was a little bit more future options for Miller for me to pull the trigger on him, considering where I'm at in my league. So, yeah.
That makes sense. And then you had one more trade, which I think just happened this morning.
Yeah, it was kind of something that developed overnight into this morning.
Yeah.
I am open to moving a lot of my running backs on the Gulf League, just because of the insecurities on the position and everything going into next year. I'm keeping obviously my top dogs like Tracy, who I just got, but everybody else I kind of wanted to keep open for the teams who are competing. I was approached by Kong. He was interested in both Rashad White and Ty Chandler. Offered me a few picks, youth a wide receiver, but I was kind of content on Burton. In a league that I'm in, I have a Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow stack, so I tend to follow the Bengals in depth a little bit. And I know what Burton's been doing. I know he's been doing a practice. I know Burrow is trying to get them the ball more. So again, another piece that hopefully blossoms into something next year. And with the insecurities of White and Bucky Irving in the backfield, it was worth me to pull the trigger on this one and see what happens next year.
Yeah, and then it's not like it's become a straight three back committee, but there's a third back there that has played well when he's gotten an opportunity as well. So
yes, even the past few weeks, like I know, like I'm curious to see. I'm curious if Sean Tucker was doing this last year, if they would have even drafted Bucky Irving. But to your point, yeah, so Tucker's playing fantastic this year. Yeah, great point on that. So it was to me. I don't know exactly what Tampa Bay's backfield is going to look like next year. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2 weeks, let alone next year. So
yeah, right.
it was worth it to me to pull the trigger on Burton and get a third in the meantime as well.
Yeah, it's like they're playing running back by committee, but roulette as well. Like which one's not going to play that week. So it ends up working out for the other two. And then Jermaine Burton, he's going to, from everything I've heard, he's going to be good when Higgins is gone.
Yes, that's everything.
Going to be gone, but
I really do. I do think Higgins is gone, and I'll even take it one step further. I think the off-season grumblings are accurate. I think he's the Tennessee Titans wide receiver 1 next year. He has connections with his home roots there. They don't have a wide receiver. They have decent cap, and to get him off the franchise. And right now, Cincinnati's kind of treading water, if that. So I can see Higgins leaving, and I can see Higgins going to Tennessee. That's my random shot call. But nevertheless, Iosivas is not – he had a great start, but he hasn't really done too much with the opportunities he has. So, yeah, I truly do feel Burton will slip into there by the end of the year, if not once the rotation happens post-T. Higgins. So, again, and that's another thing to bring up to the point what you brought up earlier. When I'm thinking of trades and I'm not in a competing thing, if I am not competing, if it's not going to make me win now, I want to know what it's going to do for me next year. And right now, Burton, to me, is a lot more important than Rashad White in that sense.
No, absolutely. So I personally would love to see T. Higgins as a New England Patriot because I'm a Drake May fan, but that's just me.
May's solid, so that would be nice.
Yeah, ended up getting him in the rookie draft. That might actually be one I get right for a change. Why I get rid of all my draft picks because I can't. So one of the things we were going to talk about, we kind of went through all the trades here that at least me and you were a part of. So what are some of the things that, and we've talked about this a little bit, what are some of the things you look for? And we'll go when you're rebuilding and then when you're contending from other teams to start a trade, make a trade, things like that.
When I am competing, I will sniff. When I am rebuilding, I'll sit back and let them know. It's how I approached it originally. If I'm competing, I'm more of a current events guy. Like I'm not necessarily tail to tape, or this is what this guy did in 2013 last year or 2023 or anything like that. I'm more of a let's check Twitter, let's check what's going on these past 2 weeks at camp, and let's see what's happening. I've been making a few smaller trades in my competing year, in my competing team that I'm a former champion. I'm the reigning champion, so I'm trying to get some depth there because I lost CMC, Puka, Addison at the beginning of the year, Godwin, JJ McCarthy. I had a top-heavy hit, so I've been trying to get some depth. I got Calvin Ridley's. I got Devontae Adams before he got traded to the Jets. And those were like just cheap picks. Yeah, just cheap picks, depth pieces, if you will. So, again, to sum it up, if I'm competing, I'm looking for pieces that I can get cheap now, and I'm not necessarily looking for long-term. Like I said, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Adams, I'm maybe 2 years tops. They're pieces now, and I'll keep my youth there. But if I'm rebuilding, I'm looking for next year immediately, not what this guy's doing, not what next year, because ultimately that's where it comes into play.
Awesome. So I'm pretty similar to what how you feel. I'm always open. Like I'm 7-Eleven. I'm always open. It just has to be the right value. I talk about value so much, but if it's something that's going to make my team better now when I'm competing, I'll do it. If it's something that I feel like I have too many, for instance, I feel like I have a lot of good running backs in our golf league. So if someone wants to offload picks or someone who I think might be good for me in the future for one of my older running backs that barely playing, I'll do that in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Those are very small circumstances, and I was lucky enough to draft a team that had this deep of a running back room.
Right.
When I know running back is so tough to have, so it ended up working out that way. But I'm very similar when it comes to if I'm not competing, which the only way I'm not competing is if it's halfway through the season and I know I'm not making the playoffs kind of deal. Because I always try to compete every year. I'm very different than Jim when it comes to that. I know he loves to rebuild, have a plan, things like that.
Yeah.
I am a win now, sell off, reload, win next year.
I like it.
That's pretty much how it's going to work, I feel like, in my dynasty.
Redraft on steroids. I like it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if it's successful, that's what's working. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, we're hoping it's successful this year, but we'll see. So like I said, I'm always open for trades, but it has to benefit me in some aspect. And I've said before I said earlier tonight, like I don't mind quote unquote losing a trade, or people thinking that I lose a trade if I feel like this player is either going to blow up later in the season, is going to be important next year, things like that. Like
100%.
I think I traded a first or a second for QJ, late first or second, like 26, 27, whatever, for QJ, but there was no one there. Like I just knew he had to do something, or Herbert was going to be worthless and the Chargers were going to be absolutely garbage. And lucky enough, he's been able to help me save a couple weeks in that league, because he's had a few weeks here and there. Now he got hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
But in that league, I have some depth there, so that worked out. But when my starters got hurt, he was one of the guys I put in, just like Rashid Shaheed. He's out for the year as well. They were able to piece together a few weeks for me to win that I probably shouldn't have won.
And that's all that matters. I mean, it goes by, and that, yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse with it. That's why I'm not a fan of calculators. Everything is league dependent. You asked 15 people if you would trade Kareem Hunt for Javon Sanders, the tight end of the Panthers, and I don't think anybody would take it. But I did. I don't care what other people think. I did. I like it. I like him. I like Sanders. I think he's a great pass-catching tight end. I don't think he's a great blocking tight end, which will give him more pass-catching opportunities. And again, it was a situation into next year. I only have Dalton Kincaid as a tight end, and it was a great opportunity for me to grab him. So, yeah, I don't worry too much about the outside noise on some of the trades. It's every single league is specific. Every single team is specific. Every single player's value is specific for that individual in that league. So, yeah, on the outside end, people might look in and say, hey, this trade is bad, but you don't know what I need. You don't know what everything is going into play. So we'll support that.
And that's the big thing. I do use KTC because it gives you a pulse of where people are kind of valued at.
A consensus. I will use KTC as a consensus, and now some aspects, if Team A and myself can't even get anywhere close to a thing. So I don't want to necessarily knock KTC. Yeah, it's when you get the screenshots. Oh, this is what this says, or this Discord person says this. They're not in my league. I don't care what that person says.
Those drive me nuts. But we could actually probably have a full podcast, to be honest, or a full
we'll leave Jim out of it.
Calculators work. I just like to reiterate the fact of how I use them is just I use them as a basis, and then figure out what my team actually needs and what that team actually needs.
Yes, I think we're the same boat on that one.
And make a trade on that, but using the value of KTC, if that makes sense.
Yes, because my issue is the player crushes, for lack of better terms. My issue is the player crushes. So I might have a strong value on, say, Puka Nacua, and someone's like, "Oh, I don't think Puka's that good," or injury history, this and the other, I might be putting Puka well on a pedestal here because I have a cool player crush on him. So I use the KTC to kind of bring me back down the levels. Or if I have a player crush on somebody on your team and I'm willing to pay 2 firsts for him, and KTC's like, "Whoa, buddy, he's worth a second only," then again, that's also something I can kind of use as a consensus for a majority thing. But no, when it comes down to the middle of it, when it comes down to the final result, it's between me and the seller. It's not anything in regards to anybody else in between.
No, absolutely. And like I said, we could have a deep dive into this.
Yeah.
We won't get into all that. We got like a minute
Yeah.
left. Since we kind of went through everything, was there anything you kind of had on your mind that you wanted to discuss quickly?
Looking forward to the upcoming trade deadline. It's pretty much universal in all the leagues that I'm in. I do love a good transaction. I think one of my tank team is literally named I Heart Trades. Like I love a good transaction if it's with me or if it's just anything in general from anybody else in the league. I like to find out why they did it, how it's going to fall, who does what, and everything in between. So this is my favorite time of year for fantasy is the trade deadline, and I'm looking forward to not only my own trades but everybody else's.
Yeah, there's been so many trades already previous to the deadline that I can't.
Yeah,
even
it's
see
busy.
what happens at the deadline.
It's busy. It's busy.
Running backs there that could be moved. There could be wide receivers that are moved. It's going to be fun. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I don't know if are you still a Steeler fan? Ever been a Steeler?
Of course, yeah. A Steelers fan and grew up here. Yeah, of course. I've grown to love football so much that I'm more yay NFL versus yay Steelers.
Yeah. Well, as a Steeler fan first, I'm hoping we go out and get a wide receiver, but we'll see about that. We'll hopefully be able to talk about that next week or in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe Mike Williams. Maybe.
That's who I was thinking. That's who I've had circled. I said when we played the Jets, why even let him go home? Just take him out. Take him out.
I was thinking he was a good backup to Devontae, but once Devontae went there, I think it was a no-brainer.
And he's actually the perfect person who the Steelers need. We can talk about that another time. But
sure.
Being a deep threat and Pickens being able to be that X is kind of what they're looking for, I feel like.
They can get somebody off of Pickens. It works perfectly. Chase is better with Higgins. It's like these Jefferson's better with Addison. AJ Brown's better with Smith. Like it's an obvious thing. If we can get some help for Pickens, then Pickens could really explode.
Absolutely. So at least we got a little bit of Steeler talk in this week.
Jim man.
Being in Denver. But that's all the time we have for today. I thought it was going to be a short show, but me and Jeremy just decided to keep talking. So for Jeremy and Jim, who had to leave early, this is Mickey, and we were Dynasty from the Mountaintops. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.